There. Oh, do I have to hit play first? All right, let's try again. Wait for it to load. There we go. Start streaming. So we are live. Hey guys, welcome. Fish Frenzy's in the chat and on the Hangouts today. We got Dano in the chat, Dave's Nano Tank, Duradicate, and Reefing with O's live so far. I did drop the Hangout link, so if anyone wants to hop on. And we'll just get things a couple seconds going. Today is Wednesday. Yes, it is, NATO. Yes, it is. Midweek. Hump day, dosing day. Welcome, welcome. So I've had one person ask me for about one on dosing, and then someone else asked me the other day about calcium reactors. So I figured today would be a great kind of day to talk about different types of dosing and benefits and what works for certain people. What's going on, Rico? Exclusive. Welcome, buddy. Welcome. Dano, Thursday here. You guys, you're what, 12 hours ahead of us or more? It's bad that I don't know what day it is. It happens. So just throwing it out there, you guys. So, you know, I'm going to be MIA for the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on flight times. Lou S, welcome. How is everybody doing today? Happy Wednesday / Thursday to you guys over the pond. By the way, I appreciate those late nighters. So far we got Reefing with O and Mr. Fish Frenzy's on the Hangout. So if anyone else wants to join the Hangouts, feel free to click the link. Monier McNeem, welcome to the stream. So as for different types of dosing, I've tried kind of the big three on my tank, and currently I'm back on a 2-part. Calcium reactors were great for having a large tank. They're a bit of a pain to get set up, but once they're set up, they become very easy. And then it's one of those things you start to love them at that point. Now, the problem is the cost on them up front isn't cheap. You gotta buy your reactor, you gotta buy your CO2 tank, a regulator, all that jazz. Now, there's a couple cool new things out now, like there's that carbon doser, which does a very controlled bubble rate, which is actually a really cool device, but then again, it's another couple $100. So there is ways to make it very easy, but it's not cheap. Same thing if you want to use, hey Speedy, if you want to use a pH controller. I mean, you don't have to, but it's a good idea because it's a great kind of safety net backup. If, you know, something happens with your bubble counter or dumps too much in, it will shut off your CO2 injection to keep things stable. So on a larger tank, they're 100% the way to go. They're not cheap though, so that's the thing. It's not really worth it for a small tank. For a small tank, dosing pumps are simpler and easier. Now, most people starting out tend to, another easier one is either dosing pumps or to use Kalkwasser. And that you can just put it in your auto top off, and that's great for a low demand tank. So Sezzles, I use both the calcium reactor and a Kalkster. The Kalk reactor runs 24/7. The Kalkster runs for 6 hours at night via an ATU. So with the Kalkster, I made a DIY one for a while and it did work good, but on my tank at least, it couldn't keep up. I was dosing more than I was evaporating to try and take the benefits, which is more for me just the pH boost than it was the dosing. Rico is the same, $300, so I think that was for the carbon doser. So the carbon doser is a really cool device. If I do go back to my calcium reactor down the road, I'll probably have to pick up one of those and add it because it's a pretty slick way to keep things rock solid stable. So as for the Kalk though, I mean, someone starting out, don't want to spend any money, you already have an auto top off. Adding Kalkwasser to your auto top off is by far the simplest way. And it's probably one of the easiest ways too for somebody new that doesn't have a high demand tank. Now, as you get higher demand, or if you're, you know, in the summertime, the wintertime, if it fluctuates from how hot to how cold it is, that can be a bit of an issue because you're dosing your Kalkwasser based on your evaporation. So that can be a bit trickier because it won't keep things quite as stable. Whereas with 2-part, you can dose it evenly as you need, and it's 100% consistent, it's predictable, it's super easy. Now, one of the other questions I get asked a lot is how do you figure out how much to dose? Now, there are certain things like BRS and a bunch of those sites, or I know Red Sea has some for their products, but they have dosing calculators. And ideally what you want to do is dose or test the same time every single day for a couple days till you get this figured out. So you test your tank at, say, noon. You wait 24 hours, you test again at noon, and you see what the difference is. If you, like your alkalinity, if it changes half a DKH or 1 DKH, then you can go on one of those sites and you can plunk in, say, I got 100 gallons, I'm at 6.5 DKH, I want to be at 7, how much do I need to dose? And that will say, okay, you pick whatever supplement you want. So, if you're dosing, dry alkalinity or mixed 2-part, and it'll tell you how much you need to dose. And that's what you'd set your doser to dose. So that's been probably the easiest way to get started. Then once you plunk that in, you do the same thing, wait 24 hours, test again, and see how it is. And if, the calculator is correct or you guessed your tank volume accurately enough, then it's going to give you a pretty good starting point. You may have to tweak it a mil or two either way, but it'll get you pretty darn close. Now with a calcium reactor, let's go turn the music down a little bit here. So with a calcium reactor, similar kind of thing where you'd want to do the same thing with daily testing, but you would be adjusting either your CO2 or a fluid rate. And you kind of tweak those and wait 24 hours, test again until you get a point where it's super stable. Now, if your tank isn't where you want it to be with the calcium reactor, you don't want to try and adjust it with your calcium reactor. You want your calcium reactor to maintain the current setting. So you might want to do like a manual dose and then get it to where you want it, and then the calcium reactor should be able to maintain that. So don't try and use that to adjust or add more alkalinity. Otherwise, it's just going to mess up things. So it's literally for maintaining. So a couple questions in the chat. I went from a calcium reactor to 2-part, then to Kalk, and now I'm on Triton. Loved them all, except the tanks and space change, so I had to adapt or get out. That's fair. So I've kind of like you, I've tried them all. Another question, what would you say is the minimum tank size to be worth it for a calcium reactor vs a doser? So as a general blanket statement, I'm going to say 160 gallons plus 260, but keep in mind, it also depends on your coral load. I could have a 300-gallon tank with, a few frags, it's not going to make a difference. If it's a packed reef full of tons of SPS and encrusting skeletons, then that's when it's going to be more demand. So all these things kind of really depend on your coral load. If you have a softy tank, you don't really need a calcium reactor. Kalkwasser is probably enough. But if you have lots of things, SPS with an encrusting skeleton, that's, all the sticks branching out everywhere, that's kind of where you need to take more into account. So it depends on your tank. Softy tank, 100% easier. SPS, you want to keep it stable. But even on that, at the end of the day, you want to keep your alkalinity stable because big swings are one of the biggest things that I see cause issue with people's corals, and that works for LPS and SPS. Fish Frenzy, which 2-part do you recommend? I honestly have zero preference on that one. I usually just buy the bulk brands just because it's cheaper. I usually buy, a kilogram or 2 at a time, and it makes things nice and easy.
What do you buy the bulk resupply brand? Do you get that in Canada where you are?
I do not have the bulk resupply brand. There was a brand that I was previously using called Schlobster, which was from J&L Aquatics in Vancouver. I used to use that one. And now I just use literally just some raw chemicals that someone gave me. So,
right. I've used BRS. I've used the Red Sea. Mm-hmm. I've used the ESV. I think they all work the same. I think the ESV has trace elements sort of mixed in. Mm-hmm. But I think for the most part, they're all, just like you said, you test the same time every day. Yeah. I think BRS only has calculator for their bulk brand. But I think if you go to Marine Depot has sort of calculators for some of the other brands. So you can go and say, hey, with the ESV, I have 80-gallon tank and I need to raise, DKH from 8.5 to 9. Marine Depot has multiple calculators. So,
yep. Now, on that, I still use the BRS calculator for my bulk chemicals because at the end of the day, honestly, maybe they're slightly higher grade or slightly pure, but it's still calcium chloride, right? It's still sodium carbonate or bicarbonate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I think even I've experimented with even what's called Randy's recipe.
Yep.
Where it's like sort of do it yourself, where you bake it yourself, and yeah, you can still follow the general BRS guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think ESV is a little bit different. I don't know if it's more concentrated, but
yeah, with there's a few of those brands, same thing. Like I don't know, like the Triton, some of those other ones, people say they're fairly concentrated.
Yeah, Triton. I think. Yeah, I think Triton is the cons. I don't know if it's cheaper. I would not say Triton is cheaper, but in terms, it's more concentrated because I was using 50 mLs of 50 a day of the BRS2 part, and I'm only doing 10 of Triton. So it's just more concentrated. It's not any cheaper. I don't think more than the bulk. I don't think you can get cheaper than the, that bulk 2 part. Especially if you have space to store it and you can buy it in huge quantities. you don't get any cheaper than that.
Yeah, I mean, I got a 5-gallon bucket of each in my shed, so I'm stocked up for a while.
I got a quick question.
Yep.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Ask away.
Once my reef tank's all set up, hello?
Yep.
Yeah.
I thought I lost you there for a second.
Okay.
So I'm planning to do all softies in my tank. So once it's pretty well stocked, the sump I bought this ice cap sump, and it has a built-in reservoir inside the sump, which is nice. I bought the 36 inches, 36 inches wide, and it has an 8-gallon reservoir in it. So with a softy tank, like you were saying earlier, basically dosing just Kalkwasser would be good enough instead of dosing a 2-part. Like
if you're just starting your tank and there isn't a ton of coral and stuff in it, then Kalkwasser is generally a pretty easy way to get started. If you have an auto top off, right? Because most people just mix a couple tablespoons and an auto top off, and that seems to do the trick. And I mean, you can adjust, add a little more, a little less, depending on how much your tank's using.
Okay.
But
in fact, if you're just starting out, I would recommend you sort of just stick with water changes at least for the first month or so. I don't think, especially if you just, unless you're going to start out a new tank and then fully stock it, or you're transferring stuff from an old tank. But with Kalkwasser, not only Kalkwasser, with any other dosing, start on the low end and then slowly adjust up. Because if you start high and you get things precipitating, it's going to be harder to sort of dialing the dose. So no matter what you decide to use, whether it's a Kalkwasser or a 2-part, start on the low side. I think Kalkwasser, the max you can do is, I think, 2 tablespoons per gallon. Am I right about that, Dev?
That sounds right.
Yeah. So start with half a teaspoon or less. Start with, quarter teaspoon, especially if you have a new tank, and then adjust up if needed. I was pretty, I measured. So I filled a 5-gallon bucket, poured it into the sump, and then mixed, the proper teaspoon into it just to make sure I was keeping track of, how much Kalkwasser I was dosing. And Kalk is harder on your pump. I can't give you a definitive that says your pump fails 50%. There's no definitive number.
Yeah.
But I know, you have to clean that pump. Even if you just take it out and just, rinse it underwater or just soak it in vinegar for a couple hours. But Kalkwasser is definitely harder on your equipment.
Yep. On that note, Dave threw a good one out there. Miss Wagner's, I think it's called Wagner's.
Mrs. Wages
Pickling Lime. That's something that you can find a lot of grocery stores, and it's basically Kalkwasser. Same thing.
Yes. So someone, I don't remember who it was. I really can't remember who it was, but they said, yes, it's the same thing, but it'll just have a little bit more impurities. They say it's definitely doable. But long term, if it's something you're looking to do for years and years, you wouldn't do the pickling lime. I sort of remember that because I think it was somebody important. I can't remember the name.
So,
and he said, it's not going to be, it's not that much cheaper than Kalkwasser where we'd risk it. So pickling lime absolutely works. It's just that it might have some impurities in it that, so, I wish I could remember who said that to me.
So Lou has just confirmed in the chat it's 2 tablespoons per gallon, not tablespoons. So teaspoons, sorry.
Teaspoons.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big
so that's the maximum that will dissolve into it. So any more than that, it's not going to absorb into the water. So
is this something you use long term?
What's that, sorry?
Is this something you can use long term, the Kalk?
Yeah, many people do. One of the big benefits of Kalk, one, just because it's kind of simple, just because you just add your auto top off and just kind of forget about it once you figure out how much you need to add to kind of correlate to your evaporation. But it does also boost your pH, and that's one of a big reason for it. I'm pretty sure it can also bind some certain metals too, to an extent. So there's a few benefits to using it, Kalkwasser.
I used Kalkwasser for a while. The reason I stopped using it is my apartment is on the warm side, and when seasons change, like the evaporation on my tank is so much that whenever spring was transitioning into summer and we were going from summer to fall, it would take me a couple of months to sort of transition between the evaporation going way up and then going way down, and it would take a couple of months to sort of dial that in. You had to be careful, and I didn't want to just be careful when you're changing seasons, because the evaporation changes a lot on really warm days. Like I could go through top off, I could probably almost double the amount of ATO water I was using. So you have to be careful and watch things like that. But in terms of the boosting of pH, I loved it, because when I started using Kalkwasser, I had to run a skimmer line outside to keep my pH above 8. So the pH benefits, that's a side benefit, but I think it's a very important one.
Okay. Now can you start Kalkwasser without having any corals in, really low, just to get the tank established and start adding them? Or it's something you should start adding once you started putting corals in? Is it something to stabilize your tank?
No, if you don't have corals in your tank yet, water change alone's enough. Because if you do a water change, you're going to be replenishing that calcium alkalinity through the salt you're adding with your water change. Really, you want to test, right? Test your tank, from a day to day or a week later, and see how much of a drop there is. And if there is a big drop, that's kind of the point where you should say, okay, I should start supplementing it. But on a smaller tank or a new tank without much coral in it, you probably water changes is fine. But at the end of the day, you have to test to know for sure.
All right, thank you.
Yep, no problem. Ben was just saying, for beginners, 2-part is probably better than Kalk. Less work, less guesswork. I do agree, 2-part is by far the easiest way to stabilize your tank. It's easy to say, there's no guessing. It doesn't matter about your evaporation. You're not tuning bubbles and effluent drip rate. You literally have a doser. You test your tank, wait 24 hours, test again, and then you can use a calculator to say, okay, how much do I need to dose to make this back to where it was? And then you just set your doser to do it. Test the next day. Okay, it was a little bit off. Tweak your doser a little bit, and then you're good to go. Hey, Cruz. So
I always sort of had if I was using Kalkwasser, I would buy some of the BRS 2-part and have it on hand for those times when I needed to make like a larger than normal adjustment. So even if I'm using Kalkwasser, you can get like for $11 like a pack, enough to make a gallon of 1 gallon of calcium, 1 gallon of alkalinity, and then like a couple cups of the corresponding magnesium. And I would keep that on hand for whenever I needed, because you can't. When you overdose Kalkwasser, you need to run your pH. I don't recommend you using Kalkwasser to do that. Like if you want to go from maybe 6 to 8 over the course of a day or something, you want to raise it. Yeah, you could. If having 2-part on hand and sort of doing that is better than using Kalk to do that.
Hello, honey.
So Ace is saying you can use a Perry pump, add the dose to the right amount of your top off water. Yeah, so the only thing is, though, it's still trickier that way because your top off water consumption changes from season to season. I mean, it might work for a time, but at a certain point, you're going to have to tweak it constantly. That's where it gets a bit trickier. Where with the doser, on the doser front, cheapest doser is probably by far the Jabo doser, which is about $100. It does the job. I mean, I use that as my first doser, and I still have it dosing trace elements now, so that one's pretty solid all arounder. What's going on, Brett? Sorry, my dog's getting a little excited. What's going on, Cruz? How are you doing today?
Doing well this evening.
Excellent.
Doing well. How about you guys?
Wonderful, thank you. Not sure. Read the chat. So, aside for that, now the other question that seems to come up a lot is like, for 2-part is which ones do you dose? I don't really think there's a huge difference between a lot of the bulk ones. I think they're for the most part the same. There's a few that some might be a little more concentrated and some might little less, and maybe one takes a few more mils to dose than the other. But overall, I mean, they're pretty similar. Next,
some are more complete. I would say some are more complete.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
the B-ionic.
Yes,
B-ionic
right.
has a lot more trace. If you actually take a look at their ingredients on the back side of the freaking bottle, really, really good stuff. I know I've been dosing it for my smaller tanks for a long, long time. They've been around for a long time as well.
Yeah.
Does ESV have magnesium in it, Cruz? Oh, see, for 2 bottles. Yeah, for 2 bottles. If you're really kind of for space or you want to keep things simple, I know it's a little bit more expensive than the bulk stuff, but if it has magnesium, you know, you can use the Marine Depot calculator. That's really simple, especially if you have like a, you know, fish frenzy. You have a soft coral tank and you're going to do periodic dosing. I like ESV. I went to a Reef Club meeting Friday, and man, they had the bottles. It was $10 for the big bottles.
Oh, nice.
I think it was donate. Yeah, I didn't bring any cash, so I wasn't able to buy any of the stuff. But yeah, the big bottles, the stuff is $10. I think that stuff is like $30-$40 retail.
Oh, it's super cheap.
It was $10.
I've never used it, but I have heard good things about it.
Yeah, I've used it. When I first started the hobby, I think it was what I first started with. I think as my consumption went up, I heard about BRS and how it was cheaper, so I moved to BRS. You know me, I just like to experiment and change things, but well, I've stopped now. Let's just
Have you bought anything new since last week?
Nope.
Yeah, we've heard that on 3 channels. So,
yeah. So Woody was just saying, Kalk dripper is one of the best and easiest ways to go. So what that is, a lot of people will pre-mix a gallon of water and they'll have just like a little airline off of it with a little kind of nozzle, and they'll just let it drip into the tank. So you just make one of those up every day and drip it. So that is another way. I haven't tried the dripping personally, just because I'd kind of find a bit of a pain to remix it up every single day. But that's another method.
On a nano tank, Dev, I've used Kalkwasser in a dosing pump. So, you know, I didn't use airline. I used sort of a little thicker grade of dosing pump. But essentially, I made one of the dosing containers that, you know, like with the glass bottle, you mix up the, you know, you have to really be careful. I measured like, I think a half a gallon or whatever it was, and then measured the corresponding, you know, teaspoons, whatever it was. Put it on a dosing pump. You know, once you shake it up, you have to make sure that this dosing pump is a little bit more sealed than, you know, but I've used Kalkwasser successfully on a nano tank before with sort of a dosing pump, and it was fine. You would just mix up a new batch every 2 or 3 weeks, and it was fine, and it maintained its potency.
Nice. I've never tried it that way.
Yeah, as long as air doesn't get to it, it'll stay that way.
When I built a Kalkwasser, I basically built like a semi-sealed jug. I had a lid on it, but I mean a little bit of air got in. And it had a stir inside. And rather than having the pump inside, I forced fresh water into the jug and then let it kind of overflow itself out into the tank and drip out that way. Just mainly just kind of save the pumps. Amphit Elite Reef. How's the reef? The reef tank is doing awesome, minus my little bits of green sign on my sand bed that keeps taunting me. I bought ChemiClean probably a few weeks ago, but I haven't used it yet. One day maybe I'll break down and use it. I've been avoiding it, so we'll see. It's my sole motivation to do those weekly little 5-gallon water changes to suck out the little bits that appear on the sand bed. But we'll see how it is. I'm going away for a couple weeks, so when I come back, if it's bad, then maybe I'll attempt it and see how it goes.
So who's going to take care of the dosing and stuff on your tank when you're gone for 3 weeks?
Well, my Apex Dose is going to take care of my calcium alkalinity, and the good old Jable is going to take care of the trace elements.
And no, you're not going to test at all in that 3 week?
Am I going to test it all? No.
Well, someone's not going to come over and test?
No.
All right.
I've been tweaking my dosing, actually. I've been testing every few days lately just to try and get it super stable. So even today, I tested again. I lowered it by like 0.5 ml each. I'm trying to get it pretty darn stable before I leave. But in general, it shouldn't be much of a swing. If anything, it'll be minimal. I have some to feed the fish. That's about it.
All right. Okay. Cruz is still there, right?
No, he did drop off. Asa, Brett in the chat was giving you his email. He said he can see what he can do about the mangroves.
Ask again?
Brett was saying at Asa, shoot me an email and I'll see what I can do with the mangroves. He left his email in the YouTube chat.
To Brett. What's his email?
Here, I'll paste it in the Google Hangout chat for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm setting up my refugium. I put the sand and the rock and some seagrass. I mean some shore grass into it, so it's actually got stuff in it now.
Oh, nice. That's good. It's promising. It's a good start.
What's shore
I wonder,
grass?
can Brett send me?
Asa, I'm not familiar.
Yeah.
What's shore grass?
Well, I'm not familiar with it either. A friend of mine went and got it from North Carolina shore when he was looking for oysters or something like that. And there's some grass that grows. It must be 3 feet tall. And he says that it's just out of the water line a few inches at low tide. And it's as much as, I think, 6 feet deep during high tide. And so anyway, I got a few samples of that, and probably 2 feet square.
They're just like thicker blade chunks of grass, right?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, I've seen it, but I've never used it. I've just seen it other people using it in their tanks.
Yeah. Hey, could you ask Brett to send some information to herring_fish@yahoo.com, because I'm at work. I only have this phone. I can't see the chat line information, but I am very interested in that stuff.
Hey, are you in the Facebook group there, Asa?
Oh, he dropped.
Oh, he dropped. All right. Hopefully you got that email, Brett. Otherwise, if you're in the ReefDudes Facebook group, just pop in there.
Hey, let me ask you about fancy dosing containers.
Oh, ask away.
I'm using sort of the Voss bottles, the same one that you had a video. I've used that Neptune Systems DDR in the past. I've used it.
Yep.
I like it, but I think now with Neptune releasing those optical, that optical, what is it? That optical sensor for like $20. If you're using like the ATO, if you're in the Neptune Systems ecosystems, you don't need to buy that, because you could basically add those optical sensors to any container now.
Yeah, no, this is true. You could very well build your own. And on that fact, I actually did buy the containers, or the optical sensors and the connectors to DIY some. I just haven't got around to it yet. It's on one of my future projects. In the chat, AM Fit saying, keep the Voss. They look awesome.
Yeah, I like the Voss. I'm actually going to paint mine red. So I'm gonna be copying. So
fair enough. Good choice.
Yeah. For those of you looking for, if you're looking, and I know I had a conversation with Pelfrey, and he said this, for those of you who want to do the Voss bottles, they're actually, my wife found them at Walmart. And I think Walmart, they're $199 for the tall glass 800 mils, and a Target for $250 for the same tall glass 800 mils. I do not recommend the plastic, only because, especially when the liquid gets low, they topple over a little bit easier. Well, not a little bit easier. They topple over pretty easy. But the glass ones, and if you're looking for them on Amazon or so, you're going to see people selling them for 2 for $20. 2 for $16. I saw 3 for $25, and people are buying them.
I've seen a case of them that weren't actually bad, but yeah, the small quantities are crazy.
The first 2 I bought for $16 because I didn't know any better. And my wife went to Target and saw them, like $2.
Yeah,
and he bought a bunch of them for me. So those you just buy the little kit from Bulk Resupply that You make the bulkhead,
Mm-hmm.
use the acrylic tube, and they make awesome dosing containers. When I was doing Triton, I drilled the Triton bottles when I first started Triton, and the dosing pump was a little off. So because I was using, they weren't see-through containers, I wasn't able to see that one chemical was dosing a lot more than the other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's when I switched to sort of the Voss bottles, where now, at a glance, I can see that, hey, all these 4 bottles should be the same, the same
Mm-hmm.
volume. And if they're not, then something's off.
Yeah.
So I like glass that you can see through and see what's happening with your chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely do want the glass or the plastic because they are heavier and there's less chance of them being a little top heavy. So in the chat, exclusive reef for those Voss bottles are too small. You probably need to refill them, 6-7 days. Okay. On a small tank, I would use them for calcium and alkalinity. On my large tank, I would not, because you're right, I would go through it way too quickly. The large ones around 800 mils, I use them for my trace elements, where it's only a couple of mils a day. Then they last a long time. I have 1 gallon space saver containers that I use for calcium alkalinity on the large tank. So yeah, definitely on a large tank, I wouldn't be using them for calcium and alk. On a small tank, definitely. So it kind of depends on the situation. But
so I use them for Triton, which is 10 mils a day, so at 800 mils. And I don't fill it to the top. I keep it at 750.
Yeah.
So it lasts me 75 days.
Yeah, so that's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Every couple of months.
Yeah, and I use those space server drugs get them here from BRS or on eBay, and they're pretty flat, and you can slide them in and keep them out of sight.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. Which ones? Sorry, the space saver ones, or?
Yeah, the space saver ones. Yeah, those flat space. I think they hold more than gallon.
Yeah, I don't know. I think mine are a gallon-ish. Maybe they're more, but that's what I use for calcium alk, and they last a couple months, so it does the job for me. And I think I dose around 50 mil a day, somewhere in that range.
All
right. Just follow the Facebook group. Awesome. Anyone that's not in there, there's kind of like the ReefDudes Facebook groups. If any of you guys want to come hang out and chat in there for future stuff, share your tanks, share the love. It's always good.
On a container that holds 3-part each container. Yeah, I think I saw that in person. I think you have Jabo or one of those companies make them. Those are really nice.
Those little acrylic ones, the little circle lids.
Yeah. But I prefer the flexibility of like the bottles, because for me, space is always a premium. So if you're making a nice cabinet and you have the space, then yeah. But for me, I would have to work to kind of integrate that into my system.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't use it. But those are pretty nice. The acrylic ones, they're nice.
Yeah, they do look nice. I actually went to order them a couple times. The shipping was always crazy, so I stopped me. I'm like, oh, they're cheap. And then I look at shipping was like a fortune. I'm like, yeah, maybe not.
Is it because you were buying it in the U.S. and the shipping to Canada was just crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're pretty cheap here, and then you could get them on Amazon with Prime, free shipping.
I didn't see them on Amazon. Maybe they are now. Okay, here's something, ReefDudes. For new reefers looking again to calcium reactors, a calcium reactor will maintain your levels, but you still need to dose the levels you need, or am I wrong? You are correct. Ideally, your calcium reactor will maintain your levels. It won't use, you don't want to crank it to try and increase your levels. You just want to set it to maintain them. So, if your ALK's 8 and you want it 8.5, you want to manually dose that half a DKH. And then, make sure your calcium reactor is tuned to keep it stable at that level. Now I'm thinking of dosing. What do you think, or should I stick with Kalk? If Kalk's working for you, man, stick with it. I prefer dosing though, just because I find it simpler and it's more intuitive. Like it's a solid number. You're not just guessing with tablespoons, and it's up and down. And it's not as consistent. Where with the doser, like for instance, I know I can.
That's what I did. When I was dosing 50 mils, I just had it dose when the lights went off to when the lights came on, and I was using the Neptune dose at the time. So I just set the 2 times when I want to dose, and it automatically calculated, the intervals. And doing that, you can't. It's not the same boost as Kalkwasser, but you do see some pH benefits if you're doing sort of like the BRS 2-part, the calcium. I don't even know what it's called. Alk. I don't know the name, but it's sort of those do it yourself. I think soda ash it's called. They're generally soda ash. Yeah.
Yep. So that's the soda ash, and there's like sodium carbonate or bicarbonate. It's basically baking powder. One is more or less baked in the oven, or one's the raw one. I honestly always mix it up which one's which, but one of them has more of a pH boost, and that's the one you want to use for dosing. And the other one that doesn't affect your pH as much is the one you want to use for more of a bulk adjustment.
Yes, perfect. Yep, that's a perfect summary. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
but I honestly never remember if it's carbonate or bicarbonate. I think bicarbonate's the one for adjustments, but not 100% sure.
yeah, bicarbonate. I've never actually. I think I've just always used the BRS one, and then if I need to, I just sort of space it out like throughout the day. I sort of always have like a I just I will like if I know I need to do 50 mils throughout the day, I'll just go back once an hour and just put 5 mils more, and just do it over the course of the day.
Yep, well, that's a good call. One other big benefit with dosers is you can do just join the Facebook page too. Thanks, Fishy Snowman. As I like to dose my alkalinity at nighttime, just because that's generally when your pH is lower, and then it's going to help boost your alkalinity up a bit. So I have my doser to dose it in the daytime, calcium, and then alkalinity at night. Sorry, Jim just corrected me. It's baking soda, not baking powder. So thank you for that. I've never actually done that way. I've just read it online a bunch of times. Just joined the Facebook group. Thanks, John.
Christopher Williams, if I buy a used denitrator, I have to. That's probably the one piece of equipment that I've never used. That and a calcium reactor. I have no idea. I don't know if you've ever used a denitrator.
My buddy Jordan, I did a tank feature on him a few months ago. He picked one up off somebody, and it is literally this like giant, like huge canister, and it's a denitrator. He hasn't hooked it up yet. It's just sitting in his little sump room, but I'm curious to just figure out how that works one day. It's literally a canister with an input and output, and that's it.
Yeah.
Simply reefing. Soda ash bumps the pH higher than bicarbonate. Okay, perfect. So soda ash is the main dosing, and then bicarbonate's the one for doing adjustment doses. Awesome. Thanks for clarifying, Simply. Oh, that's good to know. I don't know why, but I always mix it up. Now, the other thing for dosing, trace elements. So other exciting news. I was going to do this before I leave, but I'm probably going to wait till I get back. But I picked up some Miracle Mud, and I'm going to try doing that for my trace elements. And that's, my look at it is it's kind of like a battery or kind of backup source of trace element. So if something's missing from the water, it will leach it out, or the corals can pull from it. So I think it'll be kind of a good kind of almost like a safety net in a way, or filling any of the gaps of stuff that might be missing from what you're dosing. So that's going to be my next bigger experiment when I get back.
Do you have a refugium?
I have a frag rack with a bunch of marine pure balls underneath. That's pretty much where I'm going to put it.
All right.
Yeah. I was going to do it before I left. However, I got some of that polyfilter stuff that changes color if there's any metals in your water. On my center brace, I have a little steel bar on it. It's rusting a little bit. I should really just replace it. But anyways, I just was curious if he was leaching out anything, so I threw in one of those color-changing polyfilter pads. I want to leave that for a couple of weeks. Then when I get back, I'm going to take it out and see if it changes color or not. And then I'm going to do my Miracle Mud experiment from that point. That's kind of my next experiment game plan. So question for O, was the new T5 hybrid worth the money in his honest opinion? Seeing his video still feels the same.
I do feel the same. I listen. I called Rico yesterday because I have I don't know what kind of SPS it is. Like some of my few SPS that survived like my calcium spike on my Alk dip a couple months ago, and every tip on the SPS is white. So I sent a picture to Rico, called Rico, I said, "Hey Rico, like this is bleaching," and I showed him the photo, texted him the photo. He said, "No," he said, "That's a growth." Like I've never had all the tips on all the SPS finally.
Oh, really? Eh? Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, white tips are growing. If everything's turning pale or white, then that's bleaching. But if it's just the tips, that is gross. Yeah. That's good.
But all the tips are white. And Rico asked me a bunch of questions. He says, "Is it white?" And I sounded like I didn't believe him. So if Rico's listening, it's not that I didn't believe you. It's just that I couldn't believe that it was happening. But so yes, I do I do still feel the same way. I feel the same way with everything still about it. Because I didn't make the video. A lot of times we get an equipment, we make a video immediately. I waited a few days with it, a week, I think, before I made a video. So the cord still terrible.
It's on both sides, right? That's the thing that I was like, what the heck?
It's on. Not only is it on separate sides, and they do try to provide something to try to help you with it, these clips, but just the fact of the cord being 6 foot long, that's terrible.
That's probably, that's too short for being above a tank too.
I was looking at Roscoe's Reef with Scott today, and he was doing like some, I think it was an Ocean Revive, LED, and the thing had an 11-foot cord or something to that effect, which I felt terrible. That only made me sigh a little bit and go, when I heard that, you know, Ocean Revive or something can have a 10 or 11-foot cord. So the cord is short, cable management is terrible. Yeah, but
can you flip one of the T5 housings though? So the cord's on this, like, is it riveted on or is it screwed on? Like, can you swap it?
Because to keep the cost low and keep it under $300 for a 4-foot fixture, what they did is they produced they just made the same fixture and just made a bracket to connect it together. Now, if you're going to do left fixture, right fixture, I'm pretty sure the manufacturing is going to be different, and the the cost is probably going to be higher.
But can't you take the one light out 180 it and then screw it back in?
You know what, ReefDudes, you're pretty good with like CAD and stuff like that. How about I take some when you get back? No, I will take some detailed pictures and measurement and send them to you, and we'll see. Or Pelfrey is, I don't know if Pelfrey's not in the chat. He's not listening, but Pelfrey's a good DIY person. So if Pelfrey was putting it together and he couldn't do it, then I'm assuming that poor me.
That there's no hope. Okay.
But it got me into T5. You know what's going to happen is the next time I do a tank, I'm going to figure out to do a better T5 hybrid fixture. But this got me into T5. I absolutely like it. I like what T5 is doing for my tank. I'm definitely seeing growth. I like what the corals are doing. Some of them are changing colors. I think there's one coral that hasn't changed color for the better. It's a Sinularia. And a Sinularia was a nice fluorescent green. It's now growing. It looks healthier, but it's more of a muted green. So that's the only coral I can say I don't see a better color with it. But I like it. I still feel the same way.
Oh, bridge the gap. I don't know. I'm just gonna throw this out there because it just popped in my mind. In my last video about the diffusers, I was kind of saying how I think the diffusers kind of partially bridge the gap between LEDs and T5s because it gives you more of the T5 blanket of light and that kind of look. You know, not as harsh shadows, more diffused everywhere. So I think it's something kind of in the middle of that. Sorry, I just read bridge the gap, and that was one of the thoughts in my mind. One of the other questions in the comment, sorry if I missed this, but what are people's 2-part dosing schedules? I used to alternate when I first started doing it and say I'd dose like calcium and then like half an hour later I'd dose my alkalinity and just alternated throughout the day. But now I do it kind of 12 hours of the day. I dose calcium in the daytime whenever my lights are on. When the lights are off, then I dose alkalinity and just break it up on that.
When I moved to the GHL doser, it automatically sort of split up your dosing and keep them, at least 20 minutes apart.
Oh, that's handy.
So what I did is I really split up the Triton dosing with the other doser. The other doser I was doing, Coral Box, I didn't think it was accurate when you got close to 1 or 2 mils. You needed to do more than that for it to be accurate. So, I really split out the dosing hours. But this one, the fact that I can do half a mil and it's accurate, so I do split up the dose throughout the day, and it doses in my little mini refugium, but then I put a power head there.
Yeah.
To sort of dissipate it properly. I read a huge thread on Reef to Reef of a guy doing Triton. And after everyone was trying to help him and he couldn't get his stuff, because he was using like double what we were using and he has the same size tank. And it turns out his stuff was probably precipitating, and he added a power head to the sump where his dosing lines were dripping, and that made a huge difference. He ended up like going down to almost half what he was dosing because the Triton is so concentrated, and I think he was doing 2 mils at a time. So dosing 2 mils, a lot of it, it was just precipitating wherever. It wasn't mixing properly. So he added a power head. So that's what I do. So I added a power head to my refugium and half a mil. So then maybe, it's 4 chemicals. Well, 3 now. But, maybe on the hour, one gets dosed, and then 20, one gets dosed, and then 40, one gets dosed. And it's more stable throughout the entire day. Everything gets dosed throughout the entire day. But there's a power head that immediately mixes everything. So that's my schedule.
When you dose it into the tank, like if you're manually dosing, you always want to dose in power head so it's not blasting your corals, like it's distributed quickly. On that random note, I actually am dosing above a power head. I never even considered that. I did it originally for like the nano bubbles. However, it is literally dripping right above it, so the same thing. So that's a good point about doing the sump, because you do want to do it in a high flow area, and if you can do it right by a power head, in your sump wherever you're dosing, that's double win, because it gets dispersed quicker, and more will be dissolved and less will be precipitated.
The Triton is concentrated, so if you dose 2 mils, the BRS stuff can leave a cloud.
Yep.
If you dose 2 mils, like that stuff clouds the tank a lot. So a power head in the sump really mixes it properly, and then it gets, it's in the refugium, and it slowly kind of filters out into the rest of the tank. I think it's been more stable.
Okay,
I think in the last month, my ALK has held steady at, I think, 8. I think every time I've tested, and no matter what time of the day, it's between 7.9 and 8.1, and that's holding steady. So whatever I'm doing now, I'm at that point with everything. You've heard me talk about lights a minute ago, but whatever I'm doing now, it's working. So that's why I'm like
sticking
taking all the, like the stuff, all the extra stuff off the tank, like the ozone. I took it off. I am doing the bubbling.
So, hey, quick questions. You said when you took the ozone off, you noticed you had to clean your glass more.
Yes, well, that was probably the best benefit of ozone ever. The fact that the water was crystal clear, and you just got used to that. But man, oh man, I had to clean the glass more. Now, I could go a week. I used to go, in fact, now, my tank glass now is probably looking pretty crappy, only because I was so used to maybe going 4 or 5 days with cleaning it. But there were less particulates floating around.
Yeah.
The water looks so clear, like crystal clear. And now I have to do carbon, like I have to run carbon. To get, so I noticed now, I immediately noticed that the water looks a little bit yellow.
Yeah.
So, but I took the ozone off. I'm not going to get rid of the ozone reactor because, let's say, February, March, I have a solid growing tank. Then maybe I'll go back to ozone.
I actually turned mine up a little bit after you said so I have to clean the glass less after you said that. I'm like, just a tiny smidge up. I just bumped it up a little bit just to see.
It's a little bit of everything. And also I took the skimmer off. Like adjusting the skimmer with the ozone to me is a little bit more difficult. And I took the skimmer out to clean it. So when I took the skimmer out to clean it, I didn't put, I'm not going to sell it. Because a lot of my equipment now, this is how serious I am. A lot of the old equipment I have, like I'm selling that stuff off because I'm not going to junk up the tank again. But the ozone reactor, I'm not selling it because at some point...
It'll be back on the tank, you think?
You guys don't understand. It's almost like sometimes the glass isn't there.
Doing it on video doesn't justify it. But looking down like the 5.5, 6 feet of my tank, like you can see... there's no cloudiness. Like all the power heads, everything on the wall, I can see crystal clear. Like it does do an awesome job for clarifying your water. I do give it that for sure.
I didn't even tell my wife that I was trying ozone. She just said, "Wow, the tank looks clear." Like the tank. My mother-in-law came over. She said, "Wow, why does everything just look so blue and beautiful?" So I got even the people who come and see the tank all the time just commented that. It's hard. Like you said, it's hard to kind of put it on video. Yeah. But when you're there, it's almost like you're looking at like an OLED TV. Ozone combined with a Starfire glass. Sometimes it's like the glass isn't there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. But right now, I am going to take it off and keep it off for a minute and then sort of, let the tank grow, let the tank settle, let everything, I love how the tank's looking now. And then maybe February, March, April, let's say. Let me give it till spring, April. I'll consider putting the ozone back on.
Okay, no, that's good to know. But yeah, just the fact that you say you had to clean your glass more, I was like, ooh. 'Cause I've been on this quest too to find ways to not clean the glass or clean it less just for my future peninsula mode, which will be on the side of the stairs. It'll be a pain to clean it.
I was running my ozone at the lowest level. I never turned it up. So it was 2 hours a night at the lowest level.
I'm guessing mine's probably around 20% or 20 milligrams ish. That's kind of my guess of just estimating the dial, divvying it up by what the maximum output is.
Yeah, mine was out 10. I think I don't know. I think I was running it on the lowest level, and I'm using the reactor from BRS. And from what Nick Chan said to me, it was a very good reactor. Is it Ozotech? It's a company that only makes ozone reactors.
Yeah, mine's some cheap China brand. Yours is probably better than mine.
So I was running the Ozotech 220.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm running the 220 and running it at 20%, so I guess I was running it 10% of 220 would be 22.
Yeah.
So I was running 22 milligrams.
So you're fairly similar to what I was doing then, I think. You're close enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have mine just a smidge, probably an extra couple milligrams after you told me that. Just for fun. So vacationing. A couple of people are asking in the chat, what am I doing with my tank when I'm gone? Micro scrubbing has helped me keep the glass clean. That's another thing I do on a nightly basis. My only one thing that I've noticed since I started doing micro scrubbing, because my tank's a peninsula, and I have my overflow and pumps on the same side, that does make things a bit tricky. So I do get a little bit of like a surface scummy, not a lot. If you're looking down on the tank, you do not notice it. If you're looking below, looking up at the surface, you notice a bit of a film on the top, just in the far third of my tank. And that's kind of probably, I think, from micro scrubbing, because those little bubbles do essentially turn your tank like a protein skimmer, and it's just a little harder for that to get sucked out since I'm pushing water away from the overflow. So I've been experimenting with different ways of forcing it to skim off once in a while. My 3D printed one of those random flow generator induction style nozzles. So I threw that on the other day. So I'm kind of going to wait and see how that goes. But it keeps the surface rippling all the way to the far end. So I'm going to see if maybe I can kill the pumps for a bit and let that swirl it off. Or I don't know. I'm playing different things around that. So Eric in the chat, what DKH do you keep your tank at and why? So the general range is 7 to 11 DKH. I keep mine 8.5, which is pretty much right smack dab in the middle. Why? It's been kind of a happy medium for me, and if you have a bit of a swing up or down, then I don't think it's a huge issue. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter where you pick in that range. You just want to keep it consistent. Another question for Scrolls Away. Peltwork. I have a Kessel 150, 360, XR15, G3, and G4. I haven't had good luck. Watched ReefDudes lighting episode and was inspired. If you have any specific questions on it, you got a big mix of lights. I have a question. Are they all in the same tank? Are you like bang, 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 have like all 4 lights in a row? Or are you just all ones you've tried?
I think I've owned and used all those lights. I've used the Kessel 150. Yeah. I've used the 160. I've used the 360, which is what I went back to now. I had the XR15 G3, although I never put them on the tank, and G4. And I'm going to say I've seen beautiful tanks lit under every type of lighting. Look at Rico's tank that are under, what is he running? Ocean Revives?
Yeah, I think so. One of the...
Yeah. And he has T5s, but he only put them on for shadowing to help some shadowing at the back and front of the tank. So that's a lot of lights. And don't be like me where I've wasted so much money over the years on lights. I think that's where probably half the money in reefing has gone. Now spent in reefing has gone on lights, both new and used. Stick with you have G4. Use the G4.
Yeah.
The reason why I like the 360 and the T5 is because I don't have to worry about spectrum. I can just if the corals aren't growing, then it's not spectrum. It's definitely not spectrum. I have to worry about water quality. That's essentially why I've decided to go. And I like the Kessel Shimmer. But look at ReefDudes. He's using G4s. And I think you're using the SPS AB schedule, right?
Yeah, basically. I tweaked it, but that's essentially what I started with.
Jake Adams on a blog post, he's posted his schedule that he's used for like 3 or 4 generations of Radions. And so, yeah, you own like top quality light. So I can tell you, it's not the lights.
Yeah.
not saying it's you, but it's probably water. Are you using? There's so many other questions we have without knowing more. But those lights you've mentioned there, top of the line lights.
Yeah, all of those are solid lighting options. So really, honestly, at the end of the day, it's personal preference. Kessel, they got their nice shimmer with it. My one complaint is you can't tweak the spectrum. I mean, some people like that because it's simpler. There's no guesswork. You just tune your blue and your white blend. My one big reason why I like Radion's more is because I can tweak the lighting. So, I mean, that depends on the basic versus advanced type of things. But yeah, just like Reefing with was saying, any one of those I've seen beautiful tanks under. So at the end of the day, it really just goes into kind of personal preference. Cody, I believe, was asking how long I do nanobubbling for. It runs from 11:30 at night to 9 in the morning. Then I do it partially, at night, just do a bit of a pH boost, and same thing. I have left it on 24/7 at times, and the bubbles are so tiny you wouldn't notice. I literally could leave it on 24/7. But in general, I just run it at night. 2 hours for lights off, 2 hours on. In the chat, so all night. Major pros you've seen besides less clean in the glass. Coral health, I mean, the little bubbles will help remove any, like the lift up detritus. They'll essentially, think of it in your protein skimmer, you're creating tons of bubbles in there. And all these little bubbles bind little organics, they bring it to the surface and they pop in your cup. You're essentially turning your tank into a giant protein skimmer. All these miniature little bubbles will how do you do nanobubbling? Jim, I'll find you that video in 1 second.
Wait. So what? While we look for that video,
yes.
So I guess this is the second time I just ringed up Rico. So when I started bubbling, and when I think I spoke to you last week, Dev, and I said I was gonna do bubbling, I wasn't using the proper airstone. So when the wood airstone came, I put them on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using the same pump you're using. I am going to change pumps, but I'm using the double.
Mm-hmm.
So I put the wooden airstone on. So when I first put it into the tank, man, the corals slimed. I was actually worried that something happened to the corals. I called Rico, sort of freaking out, and kind of explained the slime to him, and he said, "No, man, that's sort of normal. That's the core." It was the first time I was bubbling. I'm trying to find the video so I could share it, but they were sliming. There was this huge slime going around the tank, and probably it's not coincidental that the next day that's when I started seeing the white tips. Maybe the day after bubbling, they sort of purged themselves of the waste.
Mm-hmm.
And then started growing the next day. I don't know, but it probably wasn't a coincidence. But yeah, it was. I guess you've seen it when you bubbled the first time.
Yep. So so the bubbles will. Okay, so the corals will have a slime coat, and the bubbles will help take that slime coat away from the coral. So that is one of the big things. But like I was mentioning earlier about like kind of the little bit of a surface film, that's essentially like turning your tank into a big skimmer, and you're moving all those little bits of waste or organics, all that stuff to the surface, then it can go your overflow and go in your sump and be taken out by your filtration. So there is lots of good benefits for coral health on that. Same thing. It's like I can't say this for sure, but some people have said like, yes, it will help get rid of cyano, and certain things will help lift it up to an extent. So there is tons of great benefits to doing it. The other big thing for me, I figured, if I run at nighttime, you're injecting more oxygen into your tank, which will drive out CO2 and boost your pH. That was the original reason I started it. However, I have noticed better water clarity and other things from doing it.
One of the reasons I'm upgrading to the Tom's Aqua Lifter is because you can attach an inlet hose, and I can push that hose outside. So nice. I spoke to Cruz about it on a live stream yesterday. So I am going to get the Tom's Aqua Lifter. Nice. I posted in the chat a video, like, excuse the background noise. I think my son was playing FIFA in the background. But you can see, like, the slime, sort of the slime coat off. You can see just the coral sliming. And that wasn't, it was more than that. I just caught it at that point. But when it separated, some of the fish was eating it. But man, it was a little scary to sort of see that first.
So there is no downfalls to doing it. However, if you are doing it, It's called like nanobubble or microbubbling. You do not want big bubbles. You want like the size of a pinhead. Like I'm talking ultra tiny bubbles. So if you guys don't know much about it, check out the video I posted a minute ago. But you want like super tiny bubbles. So don't use a regular air stone. You want to use a wooden air stone. Most of them are lime wood or some type of wood, but it makes very fine bubbles. And even
I saw the first video I saw of bubble scrubbing. It was inaccurate. I don't remember whose video it was, but essentially they were saying just do the bubbles and then let the pump chop it up into smaller bubbles. That's not gonna work. You need to use a wooden air stone with that creates the really fine bubbles. I had the wood and then I had the sponge air stone. Those don't work.
So you can do it with a pump. However, you need to have a very powerful pump, and essentially the flow would be shearing the bubbles. Most pumps aren't going to do that, and it'd be trickier to set up just right. So honestly, wooden air stone for $5 to call it a day. Elite Reefer, is your tank custom? What is the size? Got to catch up on all your videos. Yes, it is custom tank. I really wanted a peninsula. The tank itself, including overflow, is 6'1". That's the exact length of my banister, where it's going to go eventually at the top of the stairs in peninsula mode. So I built the tank as a peninsula. Like it's currently against a wall, but I kind of just planned for the future. Build it once, use it twice. It is. I get asked this one a lot, but the tank is a little over 5.5 feet for the actual display. There's 5-6 inches of overflow area. It's 20 wide, 18 tall, and my tank's stands about 3 feet high.
There's a question for is there airline length with the Tom's Aqua Lifter? I don't know, but
what was the question, sorry?
Is there an airline length limit with the Tom's Aqua Lifter?
I don't think so. It's not a super powerful pump. I have one. I could try using it as a air pump, but
from what I understand, the Tom's Aqua Lifter with people who've used it as an ATO pump, it's not very fast, but it handles head pressure well.
Yeah, it's just a very slow kind of trickle. Like I used one before I got my Neptune top off. I used the same thing. I used the Aqua Lifter in my tank, is the auto top off pump. It was super quiet. You know, it's just a little dribble, but it works. Lots of people use them as dosing pumps too. They're simple. They're cheap.
So follow up next week because I am getting one, and so you will know next. So I am gonna probably be 6 feet to input, and then another 6 feet to exit. So I'll let you know next week.
Excellent. Eric, is a half decent sized maximum clam able to put a decent dent in NO3 levels? I have been at 12 ppm for months. 2 weeks after I put the clam in, amazed to see it's tested to 1 ppm. I've never actually tried correlating clams and nitrate. They are amazing water filters. I mean, that big little sucker on there, they filter a ton of water, so that very well could be affecting it. So that is pretty cool if you've seen that big of a difference.
Yeah. It could also be a lot of I've heard that they filter. I've heard bigger cam. He said half decent size. So what is a half decent size? Because I've heard I was reading,
I'm gonna guess 3.5 inches or more.
I was reading up on someone who was a giant clam, and they've said that the clams do filter a lot of particulates do filter a lot of water because they do use dissolved organic compounds to grow. But yeah, so what is a half decent size? I've heard that, but 12 to 1, that is amazing.
Yeah, that's huge if it is.
Yeah, whatever you're doing, keep that up. Don't add more clams, but whatever you're doing, keep it up.
Okay, Reefer Fox, could you use a peristaltic pump instead? I wouldn't use that as an air pump. In theory, yes, you could. However, you'd probably wear it out a lot quicker just with the little roller bearings going 24/7 as an air pump. So I wouldn't. I just, like an aqua lifter is like $15-20. That's a cheap one. Or the ones that I was using, the A pump, I think that was like $20 off Amazon. It's tiny and super quiet, so I've been happy with that one.
Simply Reefing and clams are awesome filter feeders.
Yeah.
I've tried clams, but my gosh, my wife loves angelfish. And so I have a coral in my 75. I have a coral beauty, and I have a flame angel. And they just harass clams to death. Actually, I bought a nice long tentacle plate coral the other day, and they harassed it to death. Less than a week, it was dead. So go figure. I'm trying to make up some excuse on why we should get rid of these angelfish. Yeah. But my wife is not going to budge unless one goes after euphilia. So if anyone knows how to entice angelfish to eat euphilia corals, please email me.
What kind of angel do you have?
One flame, one flame, and one coral beauty. I had 3, but one died, and I never bothered to put another one in.
Do they get along well in your tank?
They do. Yeah. I got them when they were small and quarantined them for 30 days together. So they're pretty cool. They've always been used to each other. I had 3.
Yeah.
And, I forgot what the other one died. And since these were sort of mature, I didn't think to. Luckily, the flame angel sort of, they'll swim all over, but this flame angel lives on the right side of the tank. Coral beauty on the left. Yeah. So they have, they get into each other's way, but they each go to their own side of the tank. So they're okay. Plus, I have a lot of fish in my tank. So I think that has something to do with not, there's just a lot going on. No one gets the chance to sort of mess with each other.
So, yeah, I have a coral beauty and he's been excellent. I had a flame before. He was pretty good. I think I saw the little nip, but it was nothing that really caused any visible damage.
Well, Billy, I think it was Billy Pipes the other day that, because I've always said acons are my boogie coral, but I think Billy Pipes told me, he said probably your angelfish picking at them, and he said, but the way they pick at them, you'll probably never see. And of course, I moved this acon I got from someone. I moved it into the nano tank, and it's doing well. So I just kind of assumed that I've always had angelfish. Like my wife, my mother-in-law, their favorite fish is like the coral beauty. They like the purple. So, so it's so Christopher is asking, when you going to get your own channel, man? You talk like 80%
it's a channel. You better be subscribed to Mr. O. He's got a great channel.
It's an okay channel. Not a great channel. An okay
I'll watch your videos.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Christopher, I'm a tech junkie. And I figure ReefDude is laughing because he understands. He knows where exactly where I'm going. So when I was younger, it was computers, then it was speakers and different things. So now that I'm into fish tanks, you get the tech bug just goes into the fish tank, and that's what it is. So now that I've decided to, leave my fish tank alone, so now I'm going to automate my apartment. So I am currently I'm going to automate as many things. So I need an outlet for my tech hobby. I work from home, so I have an Echo, so I'm going to Echoize everything in the apartment. Plus, my brother works for Amazon, so he's able to give me a discount.
Completely random question. You probably won't know, but so on the Echo, I bought an Amazon Echo from the States because they didn't sell in Canada yet. Now they're coming out in a few weeks here. They have a promotion that gives you a year, not from Amazon, from TELUS, a cell phone company. But they say you get a year free Amazon Prime if you buy an Echo. But if I already have Amazon Prime, will they extend it and give me an extra year of Amazon Prime?
I don't know.
Because it's only $20 more than that, so I can get an Echo for $20 basically. I was like, Anyways, just throwing that out there.
When does your Amazon
it renewed a month ago. That's the problem.
Oh.
Yeah. Otherwise I would just get that and use that to pay for it. But anyways, so on that note, Echoes can be fun for tanks too. Just to relate this to the reefing. I've linked my Ecotech Reef link to my Amazon Echo, so I can turn my lights off or put my tank into feed mode just by saying, "Hey Alexa, turn on feed mode," and it will. So if you guys haven't seen that, I did a video on that a while ago. It's kind of fun. One of these days, I might thinking about connecting to Apex and Alexa. I just saw Christopher just ask that question. You're going to automate Apex to Alexa. Currently, there is no official plugin with it. However, may rig up something.
I installed it, but I haven't set it up. So I it's sort of on Amazon. It's the skill.
Yep.
So it's the skill. So I installed the skill. I installed the skill, but I haven't set it up. I think it'll be cool because just to say feed mode and have it turned down, I think that's cool. I think I would like that. So I am going to.
I use the feed mode like pretty much daily just through voice.
Yeah, I don't bother. I don't do use feed mode pretty much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But it would be nice to sort of turn it down so a lot of the food doesn't go, over the overflow.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, but my fish are aggressive feeders, so they do pretty much. CJ wants someone
Show
to
a
show.
tank.
Oh boy.
What do you got? I got an old tank one. I need a new tank. A couple times I set up my phone and it kind of uses like an IP camera in the background. I should do that again. Get some live stuff. There you go. This is an old tank though. I apologize. This is just a clip I had from a while back. Temporary tank. There you go, CJ. I use feed mode for water changes. Huh. Oh, so interesting note on that one. For water changes, I no longer use feed mode or turn off my pump. I have talked about this before, but I add a 5-gallon bucket of fresh water to my sump, and then I suck out 5 gallons of water, just so I know the water level is always 100% the same. It's always consistent. The other thing is, if you're vacuuming up your sand bed, any stuff that gets get mixed into the water column is going to get sucked into your overflow, into your filter sock. So it's a good way of kind of filtering your water and cleaning it a bit more as you do it. So I've done that for a while and it's been really good. There's a thread about Alexa on Reef to Reef. I've heard about that actually. Someone mentioned that the other day and I haven't taken a look yet, but when I get back from getting married, I will have to check that one out. Maybe I'll jump on that bandwagon. I had a cool idea of using Arduino to interface it. So you could use kind of a breakout box with it. And so that you could trigger stuff on it. I think you can use, because Neptune has like an XML type of export. So you could use that to read and get it to check parameters on your tank. So, like what's my temperature, what's my whatever. But if you wanted it to tell it you actions, I think you could use a breakout box like Arduino, some relay switches or something. That was kind of my one kind of backup plan idea. But I'll definitely check out that Reef to Reef thread first and be kind of a good basis to compare it and see how things are, what they're up to. I did actually build my own controller too back in the day, so it's kind of fun. There was a really good thread on, might have been, I don't know if it was Reef Central, Reef to Reef, but one of them. He built one using Arduino, so I did the same thing. I used like a DJ power strip and fully had one to automate stuff on the tank, which is a cool little project. But at the end of the day, I was looking at adding a bunch of the like pH sensors, and you had to buy these little Atlas damps and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I found it used Apex for pretty much the price I would have spent on probes. So I ended up just buying the whole unit instead.
Yeah, I love my Apex.
Yeah,
I could absolutely do a tank without an Apex, but I've said it's gotten the family into the hobby, and my wife would under no circumstances wanna. If something is wrong, go under the tank and sort of unplug stuff. Mm-hmm. Because at one point I was traveling a lot. Yeah, she wouldn't want to go under the tank and unplug stuff. So having the Apex where she got alerts, and if there's something wrong with the skimmer, she would just turn it off. And when I got home, be like, hey, you got to check the skimmer, or the dosing pump, or she would see the pH, or so. Yeah, it's gotten the family into the hobby really, really a lot easier. So they help with the tank more.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. My son knows to pull up Apex Fusion on the computer and like shut something off, or call me and say, "Hey, Dad, I hear an alarm. Should I turn this off?" So yeah, to me, yeah, it's expensive, and you can absolutely do without one. But at this point, the family loves it, so I can't sort of, rip the Band-Aid off. Got to stay there.
Would you recommend an Apex for a 40-gallon with like 8 corals? My friend is selling his for $300. For $300, yes, I would buy it. For if it's the full Apex, I would recommend it for sure for $300. I think that's a great deal.
For my son's Nano last year, I think it's almost $200, and last year with BRS's sale, I got it for about $150.
Oh, for an Apex, like the junior or the full one?
No, I bought the junior for $155,
$150,
and I put it on my son's tank. I used like an Apple wireless, one of the I had like an extra Airport Express that I used to make wireless,
and it
works fine. Yeah, it works fine. It just has 4 ports and a temperature probe, but that's all I need. So I plug his return pump, the Chato reactor, something that I need to empty every month. So it, I use it to control the heater, because a good heater controller and maybe a timer is, you're approaching $100. So to add $50 onto that and just get an Apex Junior,
might as well.
I say, yeah, you might as well. I think someone was asking about a 40 breeder. If you can get a used classic, I wouldn't do the Junior, because you can only add 4 modules to it. And before you know, a 40 breeder, you can have skimmer, lights, and a couple of things. You need at least you need a light. They don't make the lights anymore, but if you can find someone selling a light, or and then sort of add on as you get money. $300 is a lot to put down for a full Apex. Yes.
The whole thing, the black bar one. Yeah, so the Junior is built into the black bar, where the full one has a separate brain that plugs into the power bar. So that's kind of the easy way to tell the two of them.
I actually called, funny, when it came, I actually called Neptune and said, hey, you guys forgot to send me the brain. And they said, no, it's built in. I felt like, that's one of the few times that I felt like an idiot on the phone with like someone tech. Because I expect to sort of know that. And the guy said, no, like everything is built in. Just, you see the network cable there, just plug it in and you're good to go.
Oh, my dinoflagellum is giving natural bubbling. It's not quite micro bubbling. With the 2016 Apex, how many float sensors can I install? So for using float sensors, you'll want to use a breakout box, which I believe is 6 inputs you can connect up to it.
And you can add as many breakout boxes as you can.
You can plug 1 breakout box into the main brain. If you want another one, you need a PM1, 2, or 3 module. Has extra sockets to plug in. Yep.
Even with the 2016?
I believe so. I'll go look at mine, but I believe it's just 1 breakout box. Now, on that, just throw it out there. The FFM module, which comes with the automatic top-off kit or the flow sensors, it's kind of like their new all-in-one module, and I believe they're also using it for leak detection now. Has 4 ports on it, which you can connect digital sensors up to. So you can use an optical sensor, a flow sensor, a leak detector. There's all kinds of different sensors you can work on it. So those will let you plug in level sensors, which I'm just going to blindly say with the float switch. Or if you want to use a mechanical one, you want a breakout box. I don't have a breakout box. Yeah, they're $20 or $30. They're not too bad. Or you can DIY one pretty cheap if you don't mind a bit of soldering. I have an Apex. I have a Neptune one.
I was thinking of...
Okay, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. I have 2. I have a Apex one, which my only complaint is it's annoying to try and get a bunch of grounds onto one little tiny plug. That thing annoys me with it. But other than that, it's fairly small and compact, which is nice. And I also have the Avast Marine DIY one, which basically is the speaker terminals, and you have a a ground plus an input for every single sensor, which is nice. That part's really nice. However, it doesn't look quite as compact and sleek. So it's a trade-off. But I appreciate having multiple grounds. But either one of those, I mean, they're $30 or less, and it allows you to hook up to 6 sensors to it. So,
yeah, I have a breakout box, and I was thinking of adding sort of a float switch to put into the cup of my of the skimmer. So whenever it's full, it alerts me. But I don't know if it's worth the hassle right now.
Depends if you skim a wet skim and it fills fairly quickly, then it's probably worth it. If you do a very dry skim and it lasts a long time, it's probably not a big deal.
Yeah, no.
Like
I'm trying to think because when I'm emptying the skimmer cup, I like the fact that I just unscrew it and just take everything over to the sink. I think if I hooked something hooked up to a breakout box, that's one more thing I might have to unscrew.
If you did, I would use this little like 5mm barrel connector or something like that to make it easy for yourself right at the top.
All right, yeah, I have enough float switches laying around. I'll think about it. I don't think it's necessary at this point. What I do when I'm going on vacation, I do put a plastic bag over the skimmer just in case something happens and it overflows. The water will just overflow back into the sump. So if I'm gone for a week,
Yep.
I've been gone for a week before. I don't know what happened. Maybe a bug flew and fell in the tank and died, but the skimmer just went crazy once. And so so when I'm leaving, I just put a plastic bag over the top. So if anything happens and it's leaking out, it just goes back into the sump.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I just do mine super duper dry skim so that it takes weeks to fill up.
All right.
Lou asks, how can you get copepods in a tank without manually adding them? Yeah, any live rock, any frags, any of that type of stuff could potentially have some on it. New tanks, there usually is, after a couple months in, there usually is a bit of a bloom where you'll start to see little creatures all over your glass. So it definitely does happen. Andreas was saying live rock. That's another way to do it. But yeah, anything you don't dip, any rock you add, if you had sand media from another tank, they're likely were living in there. The new tanks, for whatever reason, generally seem to have that splurge of them at a certain point.
Yeah, before then, the population sort of died down to kind of match your nutrient or algae or whatever levels.
Yeah. No, exactly. So that is kind of a good way. I mean, they're awesome to have in your system. They'll be on your glass for a little while, then they'll kind of disappear, and they'll probably only come out at night, or if you see them in your sump in certain places, your refugium. But overall, it is one of those things that they find a way. I mean, nature is amazing how you find all these creatures appear into your tank, but any live rock, anything live, literally could potentially bring in hitchhikers, good or bad. They'll find a way in.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I've seeded my tank once with pods. I think I did the 5,000 or maybe 10,000 once. And I have 2 mandarins, and they're fat and happy. And
Nice.
I see bugs all the time on the sump. So whatever my tank is doing, maybe it's my heavy feeding, or I've also removed filter socks, which I think had a big thing to do with it. But whatever it is, it's definitely working.
No, excellent. Now, just throwing this out there, guys. I'm going to be MIA for the next 2, maybe 3 weeks. So there will be no live stream for the next couple of weeks. I've been back and forth on attempting it, but I think I just take a break for a couple of weeks. I'm
gonna probably do a live stream at this time.
You should. Fill the gap for the next couple of weeks.
All right, so for all you guys out there, I am gonna do a live stream at maybe 6 to 7:30.
more nicer for your time zone. What time is it for you now?
7:30.
Okay, so it's 4:20, 4:30 for me.
All right, yeah. So do not listen, Mr. ReefDudes. You should be on vacation on your honeymoon. So,
I was thinking the same thing.
yeah. So I think I'll put up a live stream and just chat with friends for a little bit. I don't know if I'll have a topic.
No, that's fine.
But so for all
topics.
You guys,
okay,
out
sorry.
there, subscribe, and next week I will do a live stream. I think it'll be fun.
Definitely.
Christopher Williams, you're on the West Coast. It's 4:20. Yeah, he's on the West Coast.
Yeah, welcome to my coast, Chris.
Justin Washington moved in the backyard of Worldwide Corals. And I've got to buy a tank as soon as possible. Waiting to see if they listen. I don't know about deals on tanks. Well, Bulk Resupply and Marine Depot last year. Bulk Resupply absolutely killed it with the Black Friday. I don't know how they can top it this year. And the cool thing I like about Bulk Resupply, so even the Apex I was telling you, I was worried that it was going to sell out, so I bought it like the first day of the sale when it wasn't on sale yet, or I think I bought it the week before. I called them up. They still gave me a credit for the difference.
Oh, wow. Nice.
The Bulk Resupply is good at that. They're really good at that. So it's next Friday. So I don't know if they'll have tanks on sale, but they'll have the equipment you'll need, so you save money somewhere.
Yeah, they generally have lots of good sales. In the States, Marine Depot, Bulk Resupply are obviously the 2 biggest ones that usually have good sales. Canada side, Jail Aquatics and ReefSupplies.ca are the 2 that I find have the better deals. So depending on where you guys are, those are kind of the ones I'd keep an eye on. Yeah. Andreas, amazing tank in the background. Thank you. This is a little bit of an older video. I need to get an updated one. It's fairly similar. Added a few new corals since then, though.
Your Gorgonian looks nice.
Which one?
The one that's right behind in the middle.
They got a purple plume or purple whip, and then a gold plume. The gold one doesn't have polyps out all the time, or the purple one does, which is odd, since they're the same species as different colors. And then if you look to the right of it, by the algae feeder, I got a candelabra type of gorgonian there, which is pretty cool. That one's
All right.
encrusting over the rock and doing really well.
Yeah, I have. I just recently moved mine, and it's starting to do well. So I've had it for maybe a year, and I wouldn't say it's thrived. It's just survived.
Yep.
But I moved it to a more central location where it's get a lot more flow.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think it's a filter. It's a heavy filter feeder. I took my filter socks off, and I do think, like I said, I think I have to clean. So my skimmer is what, 3, maybe 4 months old, and I already had to take it and break it down and clean it. But if I have to do that once every 3 or 4 months versus changing filter socks every 2 days, I think that's a good trade-off I'm willing to take. I think that's a good. And the Red Sea tank. I love my Red Sea Reefer 350. There are 2 things on this tank that really annoy me. 3 things. The fact that it's half-inch plumbing going to the return, which is nuts.
Yeah.
I think
Well, it's kind of tiny.
the overflow is big in the middle, but that's not a big thing. That's a small thing. It's okay. A ghost overflow would have been nice, but the complexity, I can understand. But the filter socks are terrible.
Tiny and plug fast. They're proprietary? Really?
Yes. Only the Red Sea and the Vertex fits. They're almost $10 a piece. So I have 10 pairs. I have like 8 pairs. So 16. That's $160 in filter socks. Boo, red, boo. And then it's shorter than the standard filter socks.
But the shorter is okay though, but the non-standard diameter is the part that's nasty.
It's about 7.5 inches versus yours, I think, is 12. So that's about 40% less area to catch detritus before it overflows.
Yeah.
So that's a big difference. And especially 2. So over the course of 2, so maybe instead of get 4 days out of a pair of filter socks, you get 2 days.
Oh, on the note of filter socks, I bought a mesh Vertex one the other day. I normally do like the felty ones just because I feel like they filter more. The other ones, so I'm gonna try those. I'm gonna slap those in when I go on vacation, so after them getting clogged. A couple of people are asking about the triggerfish. He's a blue jaw triggerfish, and yeah, there's been 0 issues of him touching corals or anything. He's been great. So he's been.
John Gale is asking, in my overflow, are white calcareous-looking things attached to the sides, worm-like but not mobile? What is that?
Oh, they're probably those little filter feeder tube worm things.
Yes. And also, I think if you were ever doing carbon dosing, sometimes it could be bacteria left over from carbon dosing, but it's probably tube worms.
Yeah.
If they look like worms, when you have dark areas in areas of high flow, such as the overflow, or sometimes in the first chamber, that first chamber that hits the sump, I've had marine pure balls in that chamber, and when I took the balls out a couple days ago, those worms were all over it. All over it. So yeah, it's a filter feeding things that's an area of high flow where it gets a lot of detritus or filter food. So you see it in the overflow where pretty much everything goes to the sump to get filtered, and I usually see it in the first chamber of my sump before everything gets filtered, because you figure like after stuff passes your filter floss, filter socks, or then your skimmer, it's already filtered, cleaned, ready to be sent back to the tank. So it usually grows in those areas that, you get the dirtier water.
That makes sense.
So I get them too. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, they're harmless. They're more just to know you than anything else. Actually, one funny thing is I have you can't see it in the video, but my backdrop behind me on the left-hand side here, I have I think it's a Superman Monty, or one of the ones that's like a red with blue polyps encrusting. There's one of those little tube worms on the side there, and the Monty's that's been crusting over, so I got this little tiny string of it growing of encrusting. It's kind of funny looking. Kind of makes me laugh.
That coral that's right beside that hammer coral, what's that? Is that another hammer on the sand
that
bed?
one? Yeah, that's a purple hammer.
Okay.
A little wash out in the photo, but
yeah,
this video is actually from about a month ago, but now I chopped off part of that and they're mixed together, so like the purple and green, and Actually, no.
Yeah, my wife went to LFS and bought more Euphilia as if we needed more. But she said she didn't have any octospawn,
Hmm.
like the fox spawn with the really tiny bulbs on the tentacles.
Ah, yes.
So yeah. So now I have green hammers, purple hammers, two different colors of gold hammers, purple and pink fox spawn. I have an octospawn. I'm just dying in Euphilia.
I got a little baby gold hammer the other day.
Yeah, they're really cool. And they're starting the T5s, they're really starting to color up.
Nice. Ah, good stuff.
That's a bubble tip you have at the top that's right over your head?
Yep. That's the bubble tip. That guy's split. I've took it out once. So it's amazed me because he's between a bunch of acros and thankfully he hasn't moved. But I got a purple acro up there. Then I got red planet, pink lemonade, something other green one beside it. So it's kind of corralled in there a bit. So it's thankfully like just misses them.
Yeah, I have some corals coming.
Yeah.
From a buddy of mine. Some chalices and
nice.
Nice Montipora.
Ah, very nice. What are those little donut-y corals called?
Donut-y?
Yeah. Not they're I think they're from Australia. The little circles. Completely mind blanking on the name right now. Anyways, I got one of those little circle-y guys the other day.
Not acans.
Nope. What's the proper name? Anyways, I got one of those the other day. A little circle guy with some funky colors. So hopefully he colors up, and I think he might potentially be really cool.
I know Aqua SD. In fact, some of my torches I got from Aqua SD, so I know.
Scully, thank you.
Oh, Scully.
Yes, thank you, Christopher.
Copper Band. My Copper Band, when I first got him, that's the one thing he absolutely touched. He destroyed my Scullies.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. That's the only coral. I have a brain coral that's grown a lot, but he ate it down to one polyp. And the one polyp stayed there, and it was solitary and looked near death. Didn't grow. And someone said, "Hey, take it off the sandbed and glue it to a rock." And it's thrived in the 1 year since. And he's left it alone. But I will not go back to a Scully. I had a nice blue and red Scully, and the first day I put him in, just went to town on it.
Yeah. Sounds dangerous. They it's really hit or miss, but yeah, a lot of them like a lot of the acans and Euphilia and certain ones, so it's kind of depends. There was actually a video, one of the Macna talks, I believe it was, I think Marine Deep or someone posted it, but it was funny. They were saying they would attack corals based on certain areas where they were in the tank. If it was in their swimming space or certain areas, they would go to town on them. But he said he moved the coral to a different spot, didn't touch it. Another one put in that same area was their little swimming path, they would destroy it. It was kind of crazy, just the different attitudes you can get at different fish.
Golden Basket Reef, he's on eBay. He's
yeah,
on
I just Googling that too.
Yeah, he's on vacation. But my wife isn't here, so if you hear me suddenly change the subject, that's because I don't think I need more. Oh, there she's calling now. Give me a sec.
She's watching. She's like, "What? You're buying corals?" Huh. Yeah. Vacation doesn't show anything right now. I was curious to check it out too. But yeah, so I got a Scully the other day and a little tiny gold torch. Golden Basket Reef and eBay, and me next week. So, yeah, I already said it, but so you guys know, I'm going to be in Mexico next week. So I think Reefing with Oz is going to probably do a live stream loosely related to this time frame. And aside from that, I'm going to be MIA for the next 2 to 3 weeks, depending on what day I fly back. I got to check. I don't know if it's on the Tuesday or the Wednesday. So I'm going to try and hopefully get another video or two to schedule those to post for the Mondays. But I'm going to mute O for a second. So yeah, anyone purchased from Salty Underground? I have not. Christopher Williams on vacation. That was with eBay guy. So yeah, do any of you guys have Scullies? I haven't even tried feeding it yet. I'm probably gonna try that tonight. But he's been, so far it's super cool. It's kind of red with bits of goldy, yellowy colors in him. I'll try and snap a photo later and slap it on Instagram if I can. Anyone have Favia? Yes, I've had a few Favias. There's one that's buried in sand in this one, so right now, but I have a really green encrusting one I've had for ages. Probably one of my first few corals, but that guy's been in there for a long time. In general, I find them to be pretty easy under demanding corals. How about you? Any Favia in your tank? You can't afford them. It's all about the deals. My original Favia was $20 for a little square of it, and it's been encrusting on rocks for ages since then. I would post here, but I can't post photos. Throw it in the Facebook group. I can screen share it if you got anything cool to post. If you guys aren't in there. Facebook.com/group/ReefDudes. ReefDudes saltwater chat group. So if you guys got any cool stuff or you want to share your tanks, be sure to post it in there. And speaking of me just saying that, Woody just posted one of his, so I'm going to quickly throw that one up. So Woody's tank looks pretty nice. Great tank so far. It's got a nice cube, fairly shallow. Got lots of euphilia going on in there. A couple clowns. A couple wrasses. A little starfish in the corner. T5 above. Now I'm just curious, is that like a hybrid one, or do you got? Looks like you either have an LED or a halide or something in the middle. May just be the reflection, but looks like a pretty nice tank. Very nice, Woody. Very nice.
Oh, I like.
Oh, that's cool. Your sound too.
I like when the background. I wish I'd removed the background from my tank.
Just have the wall.
Yeah, it's at the infinity look.
Mm-hmm.
I would have to hide the wires behind it, but I saw this guy with the Red Sea tank Broadfield do it.
Yeah,
and I like the look.
Nice. Yeah, it does look cool. I'm kind of excited to see it just go in peninsula mode, so I can have that fully transparent, make everything look like it's floating kind of look to it.
You're gonna get a bigger tank though.
I'm content for a while.
Yeah. Okay. Until you have to move, and then you're like, oh, let me just get a bigger tank.
I'm buying this house, so technically I just got to move it upstairs. I might, however, though, get a second tank to go in the office. We'll see. We'll see.
Oh yeah, that'll be the experiment tank, right?
Yeah, I know exactly. I think it'll be good to have one just for experimenting on, because I'm not messing with the main tank as much when I'm testing out stuff and messing with it. So I think that might be good. So we'll see. So this tank I currently have now, I don't know if it'll be bigger or small. I don't know why yet. It'll depend where it is and supporting and all that jazz. In the chat, what website would you guys recommend for corals outside of WWC? Where else have you bought from? There's like Diver's Den type of place off Live Aquaria. I know lots of people buy from them. I mean, there's always like Jason Fox and those, but those guys can be pretty pricey.
I've purchased from just some softies and some regular stuff. Not lately, but Live Aquaria, some regular stuff. I bought from Aqua SD.
Yep.
Saltwater Fish, but Saltwater Fish has these cheap packs. So when you're like new to the hobby or you want to just fill in stuff, you can get like some mushrooms, some discosomas, some, they give you some free stuff, a lot of free stuff too. But I've ordered from Saltwater Fish. I've ordered from Aqua SD.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I've never ordered from any of the high-end places. I do a lot of trades because I'm in New York City, so there's a lot of reefers that I've never ordered from Tidal Gardens because by the time I discovered these places, I've already filled in and I don't want to pay. It's like they have one thing I need.
Now I'm on Aquarium Depot site right now, and they have like $10 coral bin and stuff like that. So they do have some decent prices for some stuff. Tidal Gardens has tons of good videos. I've never looked at buying from just because obviously where I am, it's a little harder to get it. But Dan does lots of cool stuff too, and they have live sales. I know there's also live sales too on some of the Reef to Reef threads in different places, but honestly, when I just buy mine, it's usually from other reefers, just one or two stores. Like I prefer to see the coral. I have ordered online probably 3 or 4 times. In the chat, 2 Guys Coral is another one. CJ's trying to pawn off his tank, $1,500. CJ, don't sell your tank. Enough of Ton of fly.
Yeah, I was even looking at Cruise's website, and there's some stuff that Cruise has this nice sponge. It's blue. It's like blue.
Elegance corals.
Elegant coral, yeah. And he says it grows fast, and it grows in like a platin manticora form. So I would definitely try to, get what is it called? Colospongia. The blue Colospongia. And it's cheap. It's $35.
Oh, nice.
But if you search Google for Colospongia, I like the name. Colo.
So I'm just looking. So Elegance Coral. So Cruz is a guy that pops in the live streams quite a bit, and he has some very nice corals. I'm just looking at his website now. Some of them are not the cheapest, but he definitely has some of those gems out there.
I just posted something in the chat. Like, look at that image.
Okay.
That's a sponge.
Ah, nice. I think Julian Sprung had one of those in his tank, like a really funky sponge like that.
Yeah. So that grows. So that, if I could get some buddies to put in with me, that is pretty nice. That is very nice.
What I was told is basically, like, that's one you don't necessarily want to put on your rock because it can grow over and take over things. But on its own on the sand bed is like, beautiful one. It looks like a coral. Like, it's very pretty sponge.
Really?
Yep.
I think I put it on the overflow. I'll let it grow off.
Might look cool. Excellent. But yeah.
So, Cruz, if you're listening, I'm waiting for you to get back to me with some info. I emailed you last night. Just, no need to put you on the spot, but I am putting you on the spot. Oh, Dave said he has some. All right, Dave. Dave, Okay, Dave, I'm going to call you. I'm going to call you, Dave.
Live streams connecting reefers.
I am going to call you. Dave is one of the coolest. Reefers around.
Yeah,
he's in the state awesome. Over. I see him pretty often. So, Dave, if you have some of that blue sponge, and yeah, I'll take a frag of that. Thank you.
Okay. So they're just saying you can do Reef Raft corals in Canada. So there's a Reef Raft USA and a Reef Raft Canada. I have not ordered from them. But they do have a Facebook page. I'm actually checking it out right now.
The kids.
Dad, can I open the door?
Thanks for the recommendation. I'll take a look later. SPS on your overflow. I haven't tried growing it in the overflow, to be honest, but I think people that have like a center overflow in the tank too. It's a good way to kind of hide it and tie it in. I see a lot of people like put monies and different ones growing off the side, which can look pretty cool. All right, guys. I think what time is it? So it's been an hour and 45 minutes. So Reef Raft, I'm definitely gonna check those out. Everyone says those are fake. What's that? There you go. Dave says he'll give you one. You are in luck. All right, guys. So I do got some running around and amazingly have 8 million things to figure out before we go on vacation next week and get married up. So hopefully you guys are going to have an awesome evening. I'm going to call her for today. And hopefully you'll miss me lots for the next 2 to 3 weeks. I will hopefully potentially have a couple videos to post up. I think I have one that I filmed that I haven't posted yet. And I'm going to try and sneak another video or two and hopefully have something up there. But aside from that... Oh, he just joined. Oh no, Shoesman. So, yeah. So hopefully you guys are having an awesome Wednesday evening. Miss me lots. Back in a couple weeks.
Oh, we're talking about corals on overflows?
We
I have
are.
green star on my overflow, and I'm already
regretting
it.
All right, Mr. O. I got to run, good sir.
All right. I will.
So, O's going to attempt to fill the live stream gap for the next couple of weeks, so be sure to check out his channel if you guys are feeling the void of the live saltwater chat.
Yes, Fisher Hex is streaming tonight.
Excellent.
If I can just do some self-promotion before you close, please.
You may self-promote away.
I am 90% sure I'm going to do a live stream from probably 6 p.m. to 7:30 Eastern. And I'm also having a 1,000 subscriber contest where I'm giving away a free pump. MP10, Gyre, Tunzi, your choice. So please, you don't have to create a video. All you have to do is just find the video on my channel and just comment, and you're entered. So that's it.
Feels pretty easy to get in there. Yeah, excellent. There you go. Fill the void. Briefing with O.
Hey, when are you actually leaving, though?
I fly out super duper early Tuesday morning.
All right, so you'll be here for almost another week. All right.
Yeah, I'm leaving in 6 days.
All right.
5.5 if you count the lack of sleep the day I leave. Awesome. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Okay, have a great night.